Old versus new. 6.2 liter gas V8 powered F-250 versus 7.3 liter Godzilla powered Ford Tremor for 2020. The time is finally here. It's time to find out exactly how much power this Godzilla is putting down to the ground. This truck is no trailer queen. It's a 2017 Ford F-250 with a 6.2 liter gas V8. From the factory at the crank, the rating is 385 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. It's made it to 6-speed automatic transmission, and this particular truck we have here has an AFE power intake system and a MagnaFlow exhaust. This is as close of a comparison as we can do with the guys at 5-Star Tuning. This episode is brought to you guys by our friends at 5-Star Tuning, HP Tuners, and the N-Gauge. If you want a little bit of extra power for your diesel truck, check them out using the link below. Here it is, the Godzilla V8, and ever since Ford debuted it about a year ago, I've been wondering how much power realistically does this engine produce? And we're gonna find that out right now. But from the factory, the rating is 430 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque, and it's made it to a new 10-speed automatic heavy-duty transmission. One of the biggest changes between the 2019 trucks and the 2020 Super Duties is actually the transmission and also the rear end gear ratios. Here how it breaks down. The new 10-speed looks like this. First gear is a 4.62 ratio and the 7th gear is 1:1. Everything else, 8th, 9th, and 10th is overdrive gears. For 2019 trucks, the 6-speed heavy-duty transmission was used. The 6.2 liter truck with a 6-speed automatic has a 373 rear axle ratio, and we're going to be running it in 3rd gear for an effective ratio of 5.632. And the big 7.3 liter with a 10-speed, we're going to be running that one in 6th gear for an effective ratio of 5.504. They're within 2% of each other, and we're doing this also because we're kind of speed limited on these big heavy-duty trucks. 95 miles per hour on the vehicle speed on the Dyno is basically the maximum these trucks are designed to do. Alright Josh, so how do these numbers compare for the 6.2 against what you've seen before?
Very, very similar.
So we have about 335 horsepower, that's at the wheels, and the maximum torque is at around 370?
370 is real close, yep. The torque curve is very nice and flat. Horsepower comes up, flattens out about 5 grand. That's why everybody likes to get them for work trucks, tow trucks,
cool.
Work trucks.
And that kind of makes sense if you consider like 20% losses, right, on this drivetrain. If you look at the wheels,
yep.
Numbers at the wheels, extrapolated, that's kind of like what the factory rating would be, huh?
That's pretty close, yes sir.
So how does that intake and exhaust affect the numbers?
Very minimal,
Okay.
Very minimal, without a tune.
So why are we comparing different tire sizes? Does that make a big difference?
It makes some difference on the dyno, but the biggest difference you see from different tires and rim combinations is weight's factored in. and then size of the rim itself, because of how the truck's leverage is put into the rubber of the tire and then transferred into the dyno itself.
All right, so what is a stock tire?
Sitting as it sits, it looks like it's about spot on we're gonna call it 33. 34 and a half.
The way it sits with its weight.
With
Yeah.
the weight on it.
Yeah.
So we do have two 18-inch rims here, which keeps us close comparatively.
Okay.
But we do have a 33-inch tire and a 34.5-inch tire, so there is a little more rotational mass on the larger tire.
So it's kind of a disadvantage for the
Slight
bigger.
disadvantage,
Okay.
yep.
The guys at 5-Star Tuning just purchased this 2020 Tremor and several other Super Duty trucks specifically for their real-world testing, and I'm hoping to be one of the first to actually find out what this truck does as far as power to the ground. All right, let's look at the maximum power in the 7.3. So we saw at the wheels about, what, 360 average?
360 and about 407, 408 average torque.
Average maximum torque. So we're over 400 at the wheels. As far as the graph is concerned, what does that look like?
Well, what we did here is we hit the mile per hour limit.
With the 7.3?
Yeah, about 90 miles an hour is where it limited us to. We gained huge amounts of torque down low, between 2,000 and 4,000 RPMs over the 6.2 factory.
What is going on with this kind of a wavy, especially the torque curve?
That's part of torque management from the factory, where they've limited the torque to hit a specific number.
All right, well, let's look at the best from each. Best 7.3 versus best 6.2. So at the wheels, the 7.3 is putting down about 37 extra horsepower at 4,100 RPM and about 46, 45 additional pound-feet of torque. And look at the power gains start at about 2,200 RPM right here and onward. In the end, the older 6.2 liter gas V8 averaged about 335 horsepower at the wheels and about 369.5 pound-feet of torque. And the guys at 5-Star Tuning tell me that the performance air intake and the exhaust systems on this truck may add about 8 horsepower without any sort of tuning. And this number to the ground kind of matches the factory rating that Ford specified on this engine initially, so that kind of makes sense. But overall, the average horsepower to the wheels was 358 horsepower, and the average torque number was 407.3 pound-feet of torque. That represents about 23 horsepower gain and a 37 pound-feet of torque gain if you compare max to max. Knowing what 5-Star can do with a 6.2 liter gas V8 and also looking at the graphs, I think they can unlock extra power from this engine. The guys here at 5-Star are going to continue the development, tuning, and testing on the new 2020 Super Duties, and you can be sure you will see these trucks towing and doing fuel efficiency loops right here on the TFL Truck channel. And of course, go back to tfltruck.com for more news, views, and real-world truck reviews. And don't forget, we also have the 2020 Power Stroke diesel dyno numbers on this channel as well. Check it out.